Okay, so here we go, our sewing video. I'll turn the machine on. I hope it's not too loud. There you go. Actually, let's turn the machine off for a second. So we have all our pieces. We have the little tunnel piece. If we take it apart, you got the good side of the fabric inside, and this is what it's supposed to look like. Mine wiggled a little bit, and it's making a little curve at the bottom there, right here, but it's fine. It'll work. There you go. I always fold it in half and take a chalk. These chalk marks disappear in the with the steam anyways, and I mark my center on the reverse side. Actually, this is the right side. So this is your tunnel, and if you look at your pattern, it goes up a little bit here on the side, well, on the front. This is the top, and this is going to be your bottom. So if you like, just put all your pieces of pattern together. This is the front part. So if you unfold it, you got the right side in, and it should look like that. Again, my iPad is on a slant. Instead of having my binding go through here and here and here like Danny has on his pattern, I actually made a little facing which is exact same size as my front, but it's about an inch long here on the sides and straight across. So it looks like this. So you got an inside panel. I'll show you later what I do with it. Again, you could do the same as per his pattern, but I find this is easier, especially for beginners. This is the back, my back part. I will take out my pins. So here goes your back. The right sides are together, the right side of the fabric, so I will keep them together. My fabric is a non-stretch and it frays a little bit. You could put the you could use the fray away to stop the fraying on your stitches. You could use a little zigzag I don't even know where mine is, but you could use a zigzag scissor that will cut it into little zigzags. What I'll do in the back, because the back will show a little bit when you're not when you don't have it on your doll, and if you want a clean back, I'll show you what I do. I'll make a little French seam on the center back, so you could keep the backs together. It's always nice to just put all your patterns on top of your fabrics to know what everything is. Take out the pins. This is the front short, and you know it's the front because this is the back, because if you put the other piece on top of it, the back rise right here is longer. That's for the bum. So center back, this here is longer than your center front. So this one is shorter as your front, and this is your back if you put them together, like I said. the back one is longer and this one is the front part of your short. So I will go get my doll for just a second to show you the finished product. Here you go. Here she is. See, we got a little drawstring here made out of the same fabric. Well, I'll show you how I did it. You got the tunnel. I added to mine some pockets. If you want me to give you the pattern and how I made the pockets, I can show you that next time. This is, let me just take her little wig away. This is how my front looks like. It has, like I said, inside that extra piece of fabric. So everything is all nice and clean and stitched all around. This is what my back looks like. Again, with a little tunnel. I made a double hem fold here so it's nice and clean. And this is actually the finished product. So I'll put her aside and we can start. I will sew everything with the white thread to help you see what I'm doing. What we're going to do is this is the front right here, and this is the back. You can also mark it if you want. Usually do 2 little marks in the back and the 2 marks in the back on the other side, and so you know this is the front. Okay, so you got the crotch right here, the round piece, and you have the back crotch right here, and this is the side. So you're gonna take the back side with the front side like this, and you're gonna sew the sides, the back and the front sides together like that. So we're going to do the first one. Here we go. Do a back stitch. And I'm going to do the other side. The other leg actually, so the back, the sides together, back and front together. I do a back stitch, here you go, here you go, here you go. So you got the sides that are sewn together and the sides that are sewn together, the sides of the bottom of the short. Okay, now what I like to do next is I will do the hem. You could always get up and iron these all to the side to the back if you like, or you iron them open like that. You could also, like I mentioned, use the fray away so it doesn't fray. So what I like to do is fold it 1/8 of an inch like this and make a little seam right down right here to help it stay stitched down. So I'm going to do a double fold. So I'll start with the first one at 1/8. Just fold in 1/8, and I make my stitch close to the edge actually. Be careful, it sometimes gets stuck with the thickness of the seam on the sides. So you have to, here you go. So it's stitched down the first time. It's okay if it makes a little bit of a tiny mess here, because you're gonna fold it again. Sorry about that. So now we will do the same on the other side. Fold 1/8 of an inch. Help it along here on the side seam. And sew it close to the edge. There you go. Here's the next one. It's folded. So now what I do is I will fold it again. It'll make it nice and clean. Oh, sorry. I don't know why I keep coughing. I think it's too dry in my basement. There you go. I'm trying to be a little as fast as I can, not to make this video too long, but I also want to make it as clear as possible. So here you go. It's turned twice. Again, I sewed it on with the right thread, but it's turned twice, and on this side you only have one stitch. You could only see that one stitch, about 1/8 of an inch. Again, you could get up, press it nicely. You could go do that as you go along, or press everything at the end. Steam it, press it. Be careful if it's very polyester, then you don't want to have your iron on too high. Okay, so now there you go. We have the sides of the short that's sewn up, and we have the hem that's all done. Fold it good side to good side like that, and we're gonna sew the in between the crotch right here, this little piece right here. So make sure your hems are together and aligned, hem to hem. Again, I always do a back stitch at the beginning and at the end on both sides. Trim all your extra threads out. Do the same thing on the other side. Here you go. I hope this is all clear, and we're gonna hem the other side. This is the crotch area. Well, the in between the legs, not the crotch, the little piece that goes in between the legs. The shorts, cut all the threads. There you go. So it should look like this. Now you take the one of them and flip them over, so you have the right side of the fabric out like that. And since you made the two little marks, you know that this is your back of your crotch, and this is the back of my crotch. What I do is I put right side with right side. I put them in together, the crotches, the small crotches together. So you will sew them. You'll actually sew the crotch in one single stitch. So small little crotch with small little crotch together, and the fabric is good side with good side, and we will sew the whole crotch in one single stitch to make the whole crotch together. I always like it to sew it one single stitch, that way it will never make a bump here at the side. I know some people that do the front crotch and the back crotch and then sew this up, but the way I was taught to do it was to sew them together in one single stitch. So doesn't matter if you start from the back or start from the front, just start from the top, this little top part, and we're gonna go stitch all around to the back. Again, I use 1/8 of an inch, which is the width of my machine, my foot on my machine. There you go. When you get to the center, so it doesn't make a big lump, you could open up your seams or put two seams to one side and the other, well, the 2 layers on one side, the other layers on the other side. There you go. And this is it. It just gets sewn from one crotch to the other crotch. Now to see if you got it right, flip him inside out, and you got your short. So again, the back part is the part that's the longest, and the front part is the one that's the shortest, but we did mark the back part here with the two little, we call it notches, with the chalk, so you know that this is your back part. What I did next is I'm taking my tunnel, I'm gonna take this edge here and fold it and make a seam on my edge, because that's the opening of my tunnel. So let me just do both sides. Again, in 1/8 of an inch, and you could sew it close to the edge. I'll show you. And the other side. You just have to fold it in and stitch it in. So both sides, this side is stitched down like that, and this side here is stitched down, and this is your face side. So now you take this little piece, which is your tunnel, and like I said, this is the top and this is the bottom. This was on the fold, so this is going to be your center back right here. So I'm taking this, and because I did mark my center back right here, I will take this, find my center back. This is my center back of my rise. Take my long tunnel. This is my center back right here. I'm going to take the face side, the good side, and the good side of my back. Again, go look for your 2 notches. Put them, flip them over, put them together. So you got the center back, face to face, and you're going to sew them all around. Start by the back, sew it all around up until when you get to the front. It doesn't make a curve, so just follow the curve, and it will stop a little bit before the center front, because that's your tunnel. So what I did is I did center back with center back. I start at the middle of the back, and I will sew it down all the way on one side, and then I'll do the other side. Up to you if you like to sew it this way, or if you want to sew it this way. So I'm still sewing it as 1/8 of an inch. Sewing one side. And again, it won't reach the center front. I'll do my back tacking. Here you go. It went all around from the center back to the front, and it leaves a little gap here because this is your center front, and your drawstring will then come out of this hole. So let's do the other side. Don't forget your back stitch. Here you go. This is what it's supposed to look like. So you got your good side and your good side together. And it's gonna be soon turned over like this. So now let's start with the top part. We can sew the center back together first. Because mine is fraying and I'm not using the fray away, what I'll do is I'm gonna put the bad side of the fabric and together, both back, not the right side, but the wrong side of the fabrics together like this, and I'm gonna stitch as close to the seam as possible, because then I'm gonna turn around and make another seam, and it'll be like a clean French seam. So right now I'm gonna stitch the center back of the top, wrong side to wrong side together, close to the edge as possible. There you go. So it's a tiny little seam like that. What you want to do, see all this little fraying stuff? What you want to do is flip it over, and then you'll have the good side and the good side together, and then you will do your 1/8 of an inch seam in the center back. You can always not do this. You could always just put the good side and good side together and do your seam. It's not as nice but this is how I did mine. So it's nice, it'll be nice and clean. So now let's do another seam of 1/8 of an inch in the center back. What it does is encases the seam that we just did in there. So this is what it looks like on the good side, and this is what it's going to be looking like on the inside when you take off your Barbie, sorry. Oh my god, Barbie. When you take out your smart doll romper, you won't have all the fraying stuff inside of the center back. So this is the back, it's done. Now for the front. So my front part, like I mentioned, I have my front exactly like Danny's pattern, and what I did is I cut another same shape, but it'll go like this right here. So what I did, you take your fabric, I could move all your patterns away because you don't need them anymore. You're going to take your fabric and we're going to cut a piece on a 45-degree angle. So fold your fabric like this diagonally, right? So this is the grain line. This is the grain line here. What I did is I folded and it makes a triangle. Take your scissors and cut it right here on the fold line. Having some trouble getting my words out. There you go. Okay. So now you got your triangle. You're gonna take this part right here. This is cut on the bias, which means it's cut on the 45-degree angle. What this does is it doesn't make your we're gonna make the drawstring out of here. It won't make your drawstring stiff. It'll make it nice and flowy, so that way you could tie it together and it won't stick out. Again, it depends on your fabric. This is like a soft polyester challis, but even though if you cut it straight across, it sometimes makes it stiffer. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna fold it 1/4 of an inch, and we're gonna sew it an 1/8 of an inch from the side, because this is going to be your drawstring and your spaghetti string for the top, to hold the top of your garment on the shoulders, so your little spaghetti string. So I folded 1/4 of an inch, more or less. Doesn't have to be absolutely 1/4 of an inch, could be 3/8, but you have to leave a stitch from the side about 1/8 of an inch, because you gotta turn it inside out after. Like that. You could also use a ribbon that will match, which makes it very easy. Like this. And that way you don't have to make this little drawstring. So now I cut it. Since this is the first piece that we're cutting from here, I usually save it because it's the longest piece, and it'll be perfect for this drawstring. So it looks like this. I have a little gadget that'll go in here like that. It hooks on to the side, well, the tip, and then you have to very slowly, my edge here is broken. It usually has a little clip that'll clip on there and close it, so I have to be very careful just to go like this and turn it inside out. So it turns it inside out, and it makes a very nice self spaghetti. For those who don't have a little stick like this, what you can do is, when you're turning this over, we have to make more anyways, you could take a needle and a thread, stitch it on the top, like this, like stitch your thread right through it, and make sure to make a secure knot like that. So you got this thread holding your little piece together, and now take your thread and encase it in here and fold it again, your 3/16 or 1/4. Make sure that your thread is right up against the fold line, and what we're going to do is we're going to stitch it again 1/8 of an inch from the fold line, making sure that you don't sew your thread with your stitch. You got to be more careful, and I'll show you what this does, and it works just as good. Now you got to make sure with your fingers to have the thread go right up against the fold line so you don't stitch it with your new seam. And we're doing this to have extra to make the spaghetti straps, because we're using the other one for the puller. I think we have enough here for the spaghetti straps. Here we go. Oh, we have enough. All right. So I got my needle and my thread that's poking out. So what you do again is you come and you cut it this way. I just hope this is all catching on camera good enough for you. Okay, so we'll cut it up. You grab your thread that's on here. You're gonna help it along so you could push the tiny little piece in, and this is gonna help you flip everything over. Here you see it's pulling. My thread is pulling on the fabric that's flipped over, and you keep pulling, and you got a spaghetti strap, a spaghetti. So this is good for all kinds of spaghetti widths. You just have to make sure that when you sewing your stitch at 1/8 of an inch, not to sew your thread right in there. What I use is what I do is there's more than one thread that's inside my needle, and I use a dark thread. So there's like a 2-ply, and that way I can feel it. So you got your spaghetti straps. So this is long enough, more than long enough. What I did is I folded them, cut the little edges that are freeing, and cut them again. And you got 2 pieces. Right now my 2 pieces are about 5.5 inches long. I will have to measure on my smart doll. Let me just disassemble her here for a minute. She's got these small boobies on. And we'll take this off. We'll take this off. Doll nudity, sorry. Here she goes. So here, these are the straps. So the straps are 3.5 inches long, plus let's say a 1/4 inch on each side. So let's cut them at 4 inches long. You could always make them shorter or longer depending on how long you want your straps to be, but I found this was a good size. So 4 inches long. Here you go. 4-inch long straps. So now you take your front part of your cami, of the top part of the romper, this little facing. Again, you could put the fray away here, however you like. When you get really good at sewing, you could do it as nice or as different as you want. So you take the biggest piece of the cami, and these little pointy spots here, that's where your straps are gonna go. So take the straps, and you'll see that one side has the seam and one side is folded. I actually like to have them with the seams going on the outside or the inside, whatever you like. So you could pin them. I'll show you. I'll pin them and I'll show you. Oh, doesn't want to pin. Pin one and pin the other. So you're gonna pin them on like that. I put them maybe 1/8 of an inch from the side and on the top. You could go right ahead and make a little sewing stitch on both of these so they don't move. That's up to you if you're more comfortable with that. It does help. Then you're gonna take this little piece, the good side, on the good side, you're gonna put them together like that, and we're gonna sew this shape, and this shape in one scoop, or you could do this first, that first, and then go do the center front. Up to you, whatever you're comfortable with. So I'm gonna do this. I have my straps right here. I'm gonna take out my pin. If you tacked your straps beforehand, then you're pretty sure they won't move. So I'm doing them all in one shot, one seam. So this is what it looks like. it's all stitched together. Then all you have to do is flip it over like that, and you have your front of your cami. That's all done like that. The cami that I did, well, I call it cami, it's the top part, I stitched it down all around on the top. It keeps it flat. I actually haven't even ironed this one yet, poor thing, needs to be ironed. But you could just iron it if you want to just keep it flat, or make a little stitching as close as the edge as possible, or 1/8, whatever you want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch it all along to keep it flat, holding my straps out of the way, and I'll show you when it's done. Here you go. This is what it looks like. You got an 1/8 of an inch holding everything down flat. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna finish off the back part right here, this back part. That's all raw. What you can do is you could turn it over and stitch it, which is the easiest way to do it. But I would think that you'd have to add an extra 1/8 of an inch here to have enough fabric to turn and stitch it. Or you could again come and get your piece of fabric that's cut on the bias, and cut 1/4 of an inch down here. So what I do is I fold it. You could take a ruler. Yeah, actually, you know what? Fold it wrong side to wrong side together. And the same way that we did before, you're going to stitch it, but fold it at least 3/8 of an inch wide, so you have enough seams to sew it on to the back here. So fold it bad side with bad side. So the good side is going to be like that. You fold it bad side, 3/8 of an inch. Okay, and then you'll make again a stitch of 1/8 of an inch from the folded side. I'll show you. Or like I said, just add 1/8 of an inch to your back body, and you'll have enough to just turn and stitch it over. But this is mostly like Danny's pattern. So here I have again a piece that's 3/8 of an inch wide with a seam right here. I sewed it at 1/8 of an inch, but as you can see, it gets a little bit wider once it's relaxed, because when we sew it, it stretches it out. So you're going to take this piece and we're going to sew it all along this edge and this edge to make a clean little binding on the inside. So what you're going to do, actually I think you already have 1/8 of an inch here, not sure, extra, I don't know. So what we're going to do is you're going to put this on top of your circle, your round back, like that, and we're going to sew it all around like this, all around, and then we're going to do the same on the other side. Okay, so let's start one side. Make sure mine right now is a little bit wider, so let me cut it down. I want to keep just 1/8 of an inch as a seam allowance, and then my 1/8 folded side. Okay, so I got, it's about 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 here and 1/8 here. So you take the raw edge here and you put it on the raw edge right here. So let's sew that together right on top. Sew that together. So there's a lot of different ways. You just want to find the easiest way to make it nice and clean. Okay, so this is one side. So you got one side. So this is the face, and this is the one side up here. And I'm gonna do the other side. Again, take this piece, sew it all around the back. Actually, it's like a back armhole, I would guess. There you go. There you go. All right. And again, because it's cut on the bias, it's not going to make it too stiff. So what I did with the one that I sewed for, well, this one right here, is I just turned it in and top stitched it. Or what you can do, if you like to see this little binding, which is how Danny had it, you could just turn the seams down on the inside and make a little stitch right here all along, and you'll have this binding at the back. The front will be clean. So on this one we could try it out and see what it looks like. I think it'd be cute. If it makes the side seams a little bit longer, we'll just cut what's too long after. I'll show you. So I'm just making a stitch to lie it flat, and on the other side, same thing too. Got to push the seams down and top stitch right here under the seam. Okay, it's just to lie everything flat. I'll show you what it looks like. Again, I'm using a white thread. So this is what it looks like. So the seams are all lying down flat. And I have a seam here that holds everything down. Like I said, the other one that I did, the first one I did, I just folded everything in and made a top stitch. If you don't want to see this little binding showing, that's what you're going to do. You're going to turn it in and make a top stitch. I could do that too. We'll have just two seams showing here, one side by side, which is cute too. Let me do that. I prefer it having everything stitched down inside. Since the front part is all nice and clean, might as well have the back looking the same way. Okay, so this is it. And again, this is just to make it cleaner looking. You could also just turn and stitch it. There you go. You got two seams holding everything down, and your binding is on the inside like that. It's got all these threads everywhere, but we'll fix that. So when you get to the top here, what I did is I cut it a little bit lower. I'm cutting off well, this is the extra pieces of my binding. I'm cutting about maybe 3/8 out lower at the back, because this is where you're gonna sew your spaghetti straps. So cutting it here, and your back looks like this now. I hope everything is all clear. Well, it looks like this. It'll look like this once it's finished. All right, so let's sew. We could do the straps for last. I'm just gonna cut all my little pieces that are sticking out. Okay, so now we're taking the front part with the straps, the back part, and we're gonna put the good side with the good side right here, one on top of the other, and we're gonna sew the sides. So we're gonna take this and we're gonna sew this side and this side together. Okay, so put the tops flush together right here. Make your little back stitch so they don't come apart. Have everything flat, so good to the bottom. Do the back stitch. Same thing on the other side. I like to do the tops because I know they're flush and they'll just be nicer. Because it doesn't really matter if the bottom hem is not 100% the same length, because you could just cut off whatever it should be, but sometimes the fabric moves while you're cutting it. If they're not the same length, it's fine. So this is what you get. Everything is sewn together like we just did the sides. If you turn it inside out, you got your front cami or top part, and you got your back. Again, my stitching looks not that great because it's not the same color. I think it's just, I wanted you guys to actually see what I'm doing. Okay, so now we will sew the bottom part with the top part. Again, we'll use the same method as before. You know exactly where your middle back is because that's where your seam is. So this is your middle back. I have it upside down. Take the middle. To find out the middle of the front, you put both sides together, and you could make a little notch here, like a little cut, or you could take this, the chalk, and make a little chalk line, because we have to put the front with the front and the back with the back together. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna turn your little bottom part, pants, inside out. So this is all inside out. You're gonna take your top part, which on the right side, this is the right side, and you have to put the the front right side with the front right side of the pant together. So the easiest way to do it is you take the center of the front of the bottom and the center front of the top and pin them together. And they have to be right side with right side. And I stick everything inside the bottom like that. And I do the backs together. So the back crotch with the back seam, and you have the right side of your bottom and the right side of your top together, and you have the little drawstring tunnel that's in between. Okay, so if you're doing this right, you have that drawstring tunnel in between. You could pin it together. You could go ahead and pin the sides together, and if everything was sewn properly, like if you kept the same stitches at the top and at the bottom constant, like the same width, it should all fit together. If it doesn't, then you could try and make a bigger seam if the bottom is too big, or just have it like absorb it, make it fit together. So I'm taking the back part, center back of my pant, and sewing it with the center back of my top, good side with good side, with that tunnel in between. And I have to sew it all around. Again, I'm keeping my stitching consistent. Oh, I ran out of thread, I think. No. This stuff happens. Here you go. My thread from my bobbin just broke. Alright. I'm sorry if this video is very long, but it takes a little while. There's not that many pieces, but it's just because, you know, when you sew at this small of a scale, it takes longer just to put all the stuff together and not have it and have everything work out and seams match. And trust me, when I do stuff for Barbie, I have to be extra careful not to sew my fingers because it's so small. Okay, so I got all these loose threads everywhere. So the bottom and the top are sewn together. Bottom and top are sewn together. We're going to turn them inside out, which this is, everything is in here, like this is all inside out. So we have everything in here. We're going to turn them inside out. And you have your bottom half, top half with the spaghettis. Like that. And it's all sewn together. So now what we have to do, this is a little bit trickier. What we have to do is we have to sew this tunnel up on the top part. This is how I found it was the easiest way. I don't know if anybody has a better way to do it. I guess you could actually do this before you sew the bottom. Never thought of that. So you're gonna fold everything, the top, you're gonna fold the top of the tunnel. You have to fold it in about 1/8 of an inch and then lay it flat. Let me see if I could lay it flat. So this is the front part. You see there's a gap a gap in between here and here because your spaghetti is going to come out that way. What you're going to do is take all the top hem here and you got to fold it in 1/8 of an inch and pin it. What I did is I took pins and I will fold everything 1/8 of an inch like this. Like that. All around. So you gotta fold it like that. All around. And then sew it down. You gotta fold everything. It's a little bit time consuming, but you gotta fold everything all around. Put your pins. You could even take a needle and a thread and start stitching in like loosely, so when you sew it, it's easier. But once you have all of this stitched down, you'll have your tunnel like that, and the finished product looks like this. So I did a stitch on the top and a stitch on the bottom, and I took my drawstring and I passed it all the way through, and you got your little tunnel going all the way around. To make this video shorter, I won't sew this one on. I'm just showing you the final product. And then what's going to be missing to do is to sew your straps. So you got your straps that are loose. They have to come and get sewn to the back. So you're going to take your straps and flip them over. So this is the back and this is the side. You're going to take your straps that will be finished like that. You got to flip them over and sew them on over here. Got the straps and the straps. You have to sew them on here. So let me just sew this together. The straps, you gotta sew them on the outside. So there you go, you got the straps and you have to sew them on this way. So when you're done, you could flip it over and have your straps sewn on like that. And now we're going to do is a top stitch right across this way, and your finished product does that. So you got a little straps that are folded over, and this is your finished product. Like I said before, I added some pockets to mine. It's just an extra, it's an extra piece. I could include my pocket pattern if anybody wants later on. And that's it. So I hope you enjoyed my video. Like I said, this is my first video on this romper. If anybody wants any other instructions on the other guys, on the other patterns that Danny sent us, I did make the Kizuna, I think it is, the little bodysuit, I'll go get her and I'll show you. So if anybody wants instructions on that, you let me know. This is the bodysuit. Came out pretty cute. It's that way. And this is the back. Oh. And my cat says hi. She wants to sew. Okay. Time to go. Thank you. Bye-bye.